Just stop. Why are you talking about Prison Mate Luke again? I thought you weren't going to make another video. Just stop. You're just trying to start drama with this, aren't you? Just stop. I thought you were going on a break. Just stop. Why? Why? I know. I'm tired. I really am. Before I start this video, I want to say something. I was originally somewhat scared to put out the original video on Luke. Most of that came from thinking people would misinterpret my words, make me seem like I was trying to start drama, etc, etc. That's why I showed it to several friends in the community before I made it. I was so unconfident that people would listen no matter how I worded myself, because I was doing so for someone that had been getting really popular in recent time. It made me just a little bit scared that I was going to have a whole mob of people against me. I still thought I had a strong case though, and that conviction helped me to make the video while still not trying to be too harsh on Luke. The reason I was so tame and trying to be friendly with Luke was because from my general overview of his channel, it appeared like he could take criticism and move forward with the right things said. And if I'm being honest, unless there's certain people, I don't like making videos where the entire thing sounds like I'm gargling on my own salt. I feel like it's a less effective form of genuine criticism for people because it makes them get their guard up off the pure aura of the critic speaking. They sound irrational and like haters to the objective criticism, so they may not want to listen. I'll still try to keep that demeanor throughout this video, as the last thing I want to do is make people think I'm only doing this for drama when it couldn't be further from the truth. I wanted to take a break. After this video, I still intend to take a break because this shit is exhausting.
Well, if you're tired of it, why are you making a video about it?
I don't know, an obligation that's only gotten harder and harder for me to ignore over time. Sometimes things fester for so long that it makes me get to a point where I'll end up having even more anxiety if I don't say something instead of if I do, so it can outweigh my fear of making a video and getting backlash. The video was generally well received by people, and I thought I made a good effort in criticizing Luke while calling out his pattern of mistakes without being malicious or inciting drama. I prefaced Luke about the video a day before it went up and tried contacting him about his thoughts the day of, but got no response. I was later informed that he would make a video on me, and then it was released 2 days after my original video came out. To preface my speaking about this, I want to say Luke was completely within his rights to make a video about me if he wanted. I criticized him publicly, so he should be allowed to do the same. In the beginning, I didn't expect a response, but when I heard he was going to, I was optimistic he'd take what I said in stride. And he didn't. To say this, I'm not going to focus the entire video on the response Luke made about me, even though I could, and that would probably be enough to show my point. Instead, I'm going to take it as an opportunity to point out all the reasons Luke is a bad commentator, starting from his most basic thoughts on commentary and how he should act in it. Let's take a look.
And yes, a few of the things that I'm going to say are going to be somewhat similar to what I said in my comment.
A thing I don't think Luke seems to realize is that videos in the commentary genre are usually meant to have some differentiation between them to stand out and add to the conversation being had. I've said on a few occasions that the main thing you want to focus on when creating a commentary or review channel is to stand out in any way you can. It's perfectly fine to talk about any popular topic you want that's going on, but the factor that determines whether you're liked or not in the long run is your ability to make an impression. Why should your audience choose to look at your videos on a consistent basis? How do you provide anything that sticks out from the norm to truly be seen as the cream of the crop?
Well, whether I'm the cream of the crop or not, it's not up to me. That's up to the YouTube audience. What I put out there is what I put out there, and what I put out there is my opinion. And that's what commentary is. Whether people respect my opinion, that's up to them too. And with the logic you're using, there shouldn't be multiple videos out there exposing predators, because if you don't give a different opinion other than they're bad, you don't add anything new to the conversation. When people don't watch commentary just for spicy or new opinions, they watch commentary for people's personalities and what they have to say, whether what they have to say is unique or not.
Yeah, I'm sorry for the long clip, but it perfectly exemplifies many of the issues I have with him and his videos. He deflects my criticism that he should try to stand out in the crowd in any way, whether it be editing, talking points, research, personality, etc., by saying it's up to fans to decide. He acts as if there's nothing he can do to make it better, and that the only determining factor for whether his videos are good or not is subjective opinion. Just gonna say this now, as a commentary channel, that couldn't be further from the truth. You'll also notice one of the tactics he uses in arguments, twisting words. He acts as if my main point of standing out is giving an opinion opposite from the norm, when I never say that and instead make it clear throughout the video that it has to do with the bits I listed before. It doesn't mean he has to change the core of what he stands for. I only included this bit about standing out for the sole purpose of showing he barely brings anything to the table and therefore is only really coasting off the topics he covers. And eventually that leads to burnout or stagnation in subs. When dramas dry up, or time and time again, it's found you can't add anything and people pass you by. When you don't add anything to make you stand out or add to anything being stated, people lose interest. This just isn't a concept Luke seems to take. He thinks commentary is nothing but opinion when it's so much more than that when regarding real subjects that need a level of objectivity placed on them, something Luke has been shown time and time again to lack thanks to his clear biases. In regards to comments about his monotone voice, he just says, "That's my voice. I can't change it." And the thing is, you can, if you work on it, practice it, do warm-ups. I mentioned this in the video, and so unless he has a disability that keeps him from trying to put any effort into showing emotion, his point is moot.
He later goes on to compare me to Keemstar or Scarce because I don't dig deep into things, or that I only cover big topics, when most of my videos don't need some deep dive to find the truth, or even if there needs to be one. Do I need a deep dive for iCarly coming back, or Pornhub being exposed? No, because those are surface level things that you can find all the info on if you look up an article or a doc or just a few videos.
Okay then. This is probably one of the worst examples of strawmanning I've ever seen, and in the way Luke went about this, it's almost comical just how wrong he is. He says his videos don't need some big dive to find the truth, and then he brings up his videos about iCarly coming back and Pornhub. Two of the least commentary-esque videos on his channel. I can't fathom how he could get anything other than exactly what I meant, and if by some miracle he didn't and is just the most unself-aware person ever, he says all this while showing his pyro apology video, where he flip-flops from another video where he did terrible research. How clown-like can a person be before it stops becoming funny? Not only is it integral for Luke to need to deep dive on a subject when doing serious commentary because it could affect real people, but if he can't understand that, then he should not be a commentator. He does not belong in this community if his mindset is quite literally, get one set of evidence from a single person, then make a video, ask questions about the other side later. And newsflash, that's his mindset which he continues to use as he messes up continually after this video. I told him it had happened, but he decided not to listen to me because apparently my video is fundamentally flawed. Great title, by the way, implying literally everything I stated from base level is wrong. Even when you agree at the end you should do more research and agree with the core of the video. Give me a break. For many points following this, as I go through his screw-ups and leaving out of context in videos, he tries to deflect it using the tu quoque fallacy. Basically, how that fallacy works is that instead of addressing the actual criticism brought against you and pointing out if it's valid or not, you attack the person making the criticism and try to devalue them, therefore devaluing their opinion and criticism. When I brought up that he called Harsh and Nani friends of Toby when there was no evidence,
I did say that, because it really came off that way. Narni and Harsh outright ignored key points against Toby and ignored important context. Narni ignored a full video full of context for no reason, which, whether purposeful or not, defends Toby and her behavior. And what's funny is, despite you saying I left out important context in that situation, you decided to leave out the part where they both apologized for their biased videos.
when I brought up that he said there was evidence Antunes commissioned someone to draw horrible art of Puppy-chan when there wasn't,
Well, I made it a point in my video to say that even if it wasn't commissioned by Antunes, why did he allow it on his Discord? Now, I won't act like I didn't make the video under the assumption that he did commission it, because as you can probably tell, I don't have the highest opinion of him. But I made it a point to say that even if this wasn't a commission, why was it there? I stated that although I thought it was a fact, even if it wasn't a good look. And it's funny how you ignored me saying that.
and worst of all, the Peaches comments. I said that he shouldn't have said she suicide baited her audience when there was no evidence of it being that way, and saying that without asking her can be incredibly damaging to her mental health and make her look worse in the process. She's been shown to have real mental issues and was already taking medication before this happened, and from what I've heard from her friends, this has caused her tons of anxiety and made her switch to a different, stronger medication entirely. Luke's response to my saying he shouldn't have said she suicide baited her audience when there was no proof and it would most likely worsen her mental health?
I didn't have clear confirmation. What I do have is a pattern of her constantly going on about how she needs a break from YouTube but never taking it, a pattern of her practically begging for sympathy from her followers, and a pattern of her ignoring her own advice and her still talking about this drama. Patterns I showed in my video, and ones I could even show more of had she not deleted her Twitter the day before this video came out.
Oh really? You saw a pattern of her saying she'll take time off for her mental health but then not
not doing it? Well, I showed she did actually start spacing out her content more, for one, and secondly, couldn't they have not taken time off because they wanted to make sure their fan base was still there when they came back? That's a genuine fear, and from a depressed person, I can completely believe that. And the fact you're still trying to deflect and not address that you called Peaches a suicide baiter when it's so obvious is blatantly disgusting. My point of showing all these examples is to point out that Luke will, instead of taking the criticism and seriously reflecting on it before deciding if it's valid or not, choose to call me the bad person for hypocrisy that isn't there. The context he says I don't put in wasn't necessary to what I was saying at all. It was about Luke making mistakes, not covering for the others. I state these people were in the wrong for multiple reasons, but Luke brushes over that and acts like I think Peaches, Harsh, Nani, fucking Antunes are infallible in this when I don't, yet he uses this to say my points are invalid. He rather poorly tries to break down the critic instead of breaking down the criticism, and it makes you come off as ultra slimy and deflective, Luke. It really does. He continues doing this, twisting my words actively and trying to say I'm in the wrong to justify the shit he's done. When I say in the context of their conversation that Peaches had been true to saying she hadn't spoken about Luke negatively in a major way or even really mentioned the drama since October 18th, other than in a post she specifically mentions to him when she says he was somehow in the right, he acts as if I said,
There was nothing that happened after this. Peaches just ended it.
when no, in the context of the situation, that being November 9th, Peaches had held true to what she said there, and Luke said that it was fake by claiming she talked about it everywhere when at most she said a single comment on Jar's video at that point. He tells me I leave out context while doing the same thing himself. Isn't it just hilarious how people can tell you you're a hypocrite to deflect criticism when by saying that in the context they themselves are being hypocritical? Just thought I'd point that out. I won't go through the rest of the Peaches section as it would mostly be redundant, but the fact he still defends that first Peaches video and all the other shit he did like so in this video makes him look rather bad. No. You know what? This has been proven to be his mindset in so many videos, it doesn't make him look bad. It shows how bad he truly is at this. At the end of the video, he calls me an elitist, and states that he thinks my video was trying to just call him out for lying when there was so much more to it and I never said that he lied, just that he was misinformed, somewhat cruel, or talked about people out of context, or made them look worse for no real reason. To quote the end of my comment on this video, I wasn't demanding you make videos a certain way. I was giving suggestions to make yourself stand out and get better recognition from others should you choose to take it. I never said you had to be one way or another. It's a spectrum, and you fall in the middle of it where you aren't entertaining or interesting enough to have longevity in the public eye, at least from what I think. It has nothing to do with elitism, only criticism and friendly tips. I don't know if he meant to or not, but he took my friendly video that also called out shit he did and made it seem like I was attacking him, and I was far from that, just the same as I am now. I'm not doing this to spark drama or attack Luke. I'm doing this to criticize all of his actions and show he's only gotten worse over time thanks in part to not taking any of my advice. On that note, let's talk about how Luke decides to handle criticism. In my original video, I praised Luke for his ability to apologize in the Yandere Dev vs GameSleuth debacle. I thought one of the main reasons I'd be safe to make the video was that Luke was good at taking criticism and would apologize if he was proven wrong. However, after seeing the video he did on me and showing just how full of logical fallacies, deflections, and poor attempts at reasoning his mistakes while still not talking about many points in the video, my cynical eyes were opened to the nth degree. Luke has only ever apologized when he had no other option. It doesn't matter how much he slanders a person or gets something wrong as long as it doesn't affect his bottom line. As long as he doesn't see massive view drops, massive sub drops, or dislikes, he will not address getting something wrong most of the time if he doesn't get every single thing about it wrong. In the GameSleuth drama and Dr. Apis drama, there was so much proof to show that they weren't in the right on many fronts to the point it's stupid. There were hints at this when Luke was making videos supporting them, but he decided to pass over that at the time. He also may have apologized for getting tons of shit wrong in multiple videos, but those videos where he messed up a lot are still popular and didn't receive backlash, so he felt no need to remove them. I wouldn't even fully have a problem with this if maybe there were valid points in it aside from the shit he got wrong, but he didn't even leave a comment under them. In the Pyro drama, he was a constant flip-flopper, and the videos he made about the subject showed him just kind of sway with popular opinion, disregarding evidence on both sides if popular sway demanded. And when he got called out for this by Pyro himself without an explicit name drop, he finally felt he needed to delete all of them and make an apology for everything. While the bottom line of losing subs is on the line, that's the only time he'll apologize for shit regardless of any moral obligation to truly find what's right and correct his wrongs. As is clearly shown in his response to my video, where he takes no accountability for everything he got wrong and just brushes it off like he didn't do anything bad by not researching the topic to where he wouldn't constantly make these kinds of mistakes. The same shit applies to criticism. When he gets so much criticism from so many different people that are respected in the community, he'll say in his apology that he did bad. He'll say he got stuff wrong and he won't do that in the future. He says he won't try to cut context and look at everything before running a story. But both of those come off as incredibly disingenuous when you look at the video he did on Just a Robot and the entire way he handled the situation regarding the Instagram artist Lexit. Let me explain in a bit greater detail. Starting with his video on Jar, I will state that he and I are friends. We know each other. However, I will not take his side in everything for that reason alone. I've already stated that I don't agree with how he handled the Toby drama. I don't agree with everything he said either. Some of it could be seen as offensive, even if I believe he was in no way trying to be. Luke's video still makes him look much worse by taking him out of context and twisting his words though. Let me explain. One of Luke's claims has to do with Jar using a black PFP for a single episode and having another character that's also black. Do you know what he calls this? Blackface. He calls it digital blackface. No, Luke. No. Firstly, the supposed second character isn't even Jar, it's his friend, Professor Dreadlocks. They look different despite being in the same art style. Secondly, Jar never uses his PFP for the express purpose of making fun of black people or making them look bad. He just uses it as a joke PFP when talking about people supporting black supremacy, the opposite of white supremacy. He never depicts any negative black stereotypes while using it, and if a white person using a black PFP is racist, allow me to introduce you to Ponder Sprocket. Another point Luke makes is that Jar called for segregation in a Witcher video, where he said he couldn't tell places apart because they all had very ethnically diverse places, and if there were more of one race in any given city, it would help differentiate the world more. I do feel this is a dumb point on Jar's part, with the culture and so on also being huge determining factors, but it isn't racist. Note how Luke uses the word segregate. That implies not only separation, but making it so one or more groups has it worse than another. Does Jar ever come anywhere near saying that, or doing that? No. In another point, he brings up that Jar said the N-word before. Yes, he did do that. However, he never said it as an insult towards anyone. He never said it with hate towards people. He only ever really used it when quoting someone else or for the sake of using it to try and prove a point that words are words and should be treated as nothing more, nothing less. Whether you agree with that or not is your call, but saying he say N-word, he bad, is a reductionist mindset that doesn't take into account context or reason. This kind of advocating for free speech was a thing iDubbbz championed for at the time, and a lot of commentators followed it like him, Pyro, and so on. I doubt you'd call them racist for doing this 4 years ago considering their reasoning, but you would call Jar racist because of the other flimsy claims you provide. Also, yeah, this was at least 4 years ago when Jar said it. He brings up at one point that Jar also called Omnia a racist black woman, and yeah, that was really dumb of him. I'd hardly call it racist though. Also, Jar apologized and specifically addressed this in a video that came out the day before this one, so bringing it up as if he never mentioned it again is pretty shitty. In one instance, he calls Jar racist because after making a joke about Ron not being a ginger in the Harry Potter play, he also says Hermione is now black and ugly. I can at least see where Luke came from at this point. But for me, it doesn't seem like Jar is calling her ugly because she's black, just that she is black and he considers her unattractive, as in like two separate things. He still shouldn't have said that, it's pretty rude, but again, not hating on a specific race. At one point, he says in Jar's Steven Universe video that he says people against interracial couples aren't a problem, but in the context of the video and what he said, it's clear he meant they were a problem. Let me play it to you even as he did.
Understand there might be a few people in my comment section completely missing the point of this video and taking the least charitable interpretation possible. Please understand, I'm not saying people who don't like interracial couples are a problem. I'm just saying people who have a problem with same-sex couples is a way bigger problem.
You can even tell by the way that he says it that he's trying to say it in a way that's like, I'm also addressing this problem and saying that it exists. Now, it's a bad slip-up on his part, but I think anyone could get he meant they were still a problem, just that more people have problems with gay couples than interracial couples, and that's true. Overall, quite a bad video that doesn't really prove Jar is a straight-up racist. The way you use the word so lightly to describe Jar's, at best, ignorant or unintentionally racially insensitive comments is irresponsible, Luke, highly so. You use specific wording for some of what Jar said to make him look worse, and even after he made a full-blown genuine response after this video came out, you didn't even have the courtesy to speak about it in a comment at the bottom of the video or even tweet. when you were the one who made the statement. You also didn't mention how he apologized for many of his misactions in the Peaches video despite mentioning the video itself, and that comes off as really malicious by intentionally excluding it and then bringing up points that he himself says were bad in said video, which you bring up but choose not to talk about. The last thing I want to discuss for the time being is his at the time of scriptwriting most recent videos pertaining to a person going by the name of Lexit.
I was able to start doing a bit more of an in-depth look and get a deeper insight into the situation, in part thanks to Harley TBS, who helped me get in contact with Lexit, so check him out in the description.
So the main claims relating to Luke's video on this person is that there are 25-year-old artists that allowed minors into an 18+ server, that she knew and spoke dirty to them, asked for porn images from them, and gave porn images to them. Some of these are very serious claims, but let's specifically focus on her sending and receiving porn from minors. In the specific first video, Luke's main claims for saying they sent and received porn was in TTS Lexit asking for cactus porn, and on another occasion asking for sans porn. It all feels very much like joking, especially the cactus porn section, which he treats very seriously. He never shows evidence in this video that she sent NSFW, but claims she did and says she committed a crime, that she should go to jail, etc. And those are things you'd want to show evidence for. And no, the text-to-speech messages where they jokingly say a bunch of inappropriate shit to hear a funny robot voice is not enough proof to show that she actually sent real porn. Apparently, Luke did have evidence sent to them by the doc maker, but he just decided to leave it out of the video for whatever reason. It's a single image from a screenshot in a mod chat which did have minors in it. I personally wasn't convinced, however, by the single piece. As an editor, I know just how easy it is to make this look real when it isn't. If you want an explanation, all you have to do is go on a desktop, hit Ctrl-Shift-I, and then find the image data and replace it with another. This is called using Inspect Element, and it's very easy to do. The same goes for changing text. I also personally went to Lexit and asked them to find the image itself on her tablet and show when it was created. She showed in a video it was created December 6th. Lexit also made her Patreon post with this image on December 8th. The post she showed was actually edited, however, which was a rough draft of the first part in a 2-part comic. The doc maker claims the original post was made on December 1st and then deleted, but they had no evidence of this. I, however, was able to find the evidence for them. Do you know how I did this? I asked Harley about a patron of Lex's that he knew to go through the comments of one of her posts, and then we'd search the usernames online and try to find if they were compatible at all with other social media accounts. Patreon will send emails to you whenever a new post is made, so that's what we were looking for within that date range. Among the people that responded, one did have an email confirming she edited another post to make it seem like the original, therefore making it seem like the image couldn't have been sent because it wasn't even created yet. The doc maker had speculated this by giving a name and showing comments, but they never got proof as clear as this. Even after this, there was still room for interpretation, as no one had a screenshot of the supposed original post, which is the main factor in determining if she could have sent it December 1st. The doc maker says it was posted that day, but they just say that. They never show any evidence. Once again, I and the others had to do their job for them. That same patron that gave us the email showing she edited a separate December 8th post also had an email for the original post of the NSFW. It was on November 30th. This all means that Lex fabricated evidence to try and turn us away, and while the image could still be easily inspect elemented, the way she acted has almost confirmed its validity. However, people following the situation may not have seen any of this up until now. That's because it was me, Harley, and the past patrons that were able to get this information through deep diving into the situation and looking hard for substantial evidence. Luke might say he doesn't need a deep dive to get to the truth of a topic, but all he did was regurgitate what was stated on the doc with no research, skepticism of claims, or anything, and based on all the evidence he had, there was still plenty of room for interpretation. I also got to see how Luke acted across the entire situation, and it was abysmal. Here's how it went. In his first video, Lexit, Webtoon's scummiest artist, he immediately takes the side of the doc maker and basically just says what the doc does without any nuance or additions he found himself through research to help the case either way. Luke didn't have to make his video as fast as he did, and he could have easily contacted Lex through one of her many social media accounts, but he didn't. He could have easily tried to talk to the person being accused of all this, and instead of trying to be fair and hear both sides out, he just went with the idea that she could be nothing but a liar based on what he'd seen from the doc. As I've shown, she is indeed a liar, but during this period, the doc didn't do a great job of proving that. Also, whether he may have gotten a lot of it right in hindsight or not, that doesn't mean all the time he could just completely brush her off and act like hearing her side didn't matter. No one can deny that is terrible investigative journalism and is incredibly one-sided. After that came his second video, in which he shows the single image and basically adds almost nothing else to the conversation. Again, he could have talked to Lexit about this before bringing it up, but he directly chose not to. He even had the chance to speak to Lexit when Harley put him into a chat with her. Harley should have waited for Luke to give consent on on that, but as is shown in messages Harley sent to me, he just didn't want to speak to her. Like I said, at the time there was still a lot of uncertainty and ability to fake screenshots, no matter how Luke may have made it out. And if there's uncertainty in a serious situation like this, you shouldn't so easily believe one side over another just because they got to you first. This could ruin someone's reputation, so if you're gonna make those claims, you need to make sure what you're saying is 100% true. And Luke's evidence at this point could really be easily faked, like I mentioned. After that video, I started looking into it, and it appeared Luke's side had many holes, so I went to him privately to bring all I'd noticed and asked if he'd be willing to talk about it more. He only replied saying the doc maker was adding on to it and that they'd proved she was, quote, full of shit. Also, I know it's not good to show DMs, but Luke showed Harley's first without permission, and he showed Lexit's full Discord tag, which wasn't necessary to prove it was her. He easily could have covered 1 or 2 numbers, so I'd say he specifically has no leg to stand on there. He did the same thing with Peaches, so what should I expect, but I digress. Still, in DMs, I'd say I partially believe the screenshot was faked because it had the outline of a phone but had the cropping for a Discord photo from a desktop, and to his credit, he did disprove this by showing a 5-second video where a mouse is used. Moving on from this, I heard he was making a 3rd video, and if he was planning it, I thought he, Harley, and I should try talking it out and just discussing the whole thing. He didn't respond. I sent another message, and I still haven't gotten a response to this day. Same with Harley. The only person who actually got an answer from Luke was someone who didn't want to be involved anymore, in which Luke said he didn't want to talk because he didn't know what the doc maker was comfortable with him sharing or not. Firstly, we wouldn't have shared any info that didn't get out at the time. All he had to do was ask. Second, the fact he thought he should have made a video before talking to us was honestly idiotic, and it didn't really clear up anything that we didn't already know. It just regurgitated what the doc said that we already knew about. He would have known this if he spoke to us. My ending message for this segment is that whether or not it was true, he handled the situation terribly and in a rather one-sided way that's only another reminder of his bad practices. This is something I fear about you, Luke. The way you made 3 videos in rapid succession of one another, the way you didn't look at both sides of the argument, how you didn't look further before believing one side, you doing the childish ignoring of us when you just didn't want to say anything. These are all classic traits of yours. What's worse though is that you may have been right in this instance, but one day you won't be. I almost thought this was the one where you did get something wrong before I looked even further and found substantial evidence saying otherwise. Evidence you didn't have. So much was still up in the air as your videos came out, and uncertainty was there on both sides of the argument, but you decided to act like the one you took was infallible no matter what others tried to say. It's good you apologized for sharing Lex's story of abuse without her consent and for not showing the image in the first video, but that isn't the main issue. The big issue here is that you decided to take one side from the beginning, even if at the time the other side had points that made it look shakier. You outright refused to speak to the person involved. You relied heavily on the doc maker from the beginning. You rapidly pumped out these videos instead of discussing with us about it. If you keep up these methods, you're gonna start a cancel train for someone that didn't do anything wrong, and they might be liable to sue you for slander and defamation if it ruins their reputation. You're a big channel and you have that sway. I just can't get on board with any of your methods and think you're only headed for disaster, and that you're going to bring the commentary community itself down with you. Honestly, all I can say to him after all these videos and so on is this: you don't change, Luke. You stagnate. You say you listen to criticism, but then continue going on with the same things you've always done, and it leads to you making the same mistakes. You act as if your content is just your opinion, and you don't need both sides in an argument to find the truth, as you so eloquently put it. You say that other people like me are the ones who are elitist for calling out your bullshit, but if anything, you have a bigger ego than most people I know in this community. You act like you can't be proven wrong, and until enough manpower is put on you to finally give up, you stubbornly hold on to everything you say like you couldn't be in the wrong, and it's everyone else's fault. You need to get it through your head that that isn't the case at all. Also, I know a lot of people are scared to talk about you because of how easy you are to provoke. You'll most likely make a response to this in some way, but judging by your last like to dislike ratio, I'd assume your response to this would be even worse. I would never say this to anyone who made 1, 2, even 3 or 4 big mistakes in the community and learn from it, but it's clear from how you say you go about content that you aren't going to change anytime soon without the biggest push ever. Even in DMs, when I tried to discuss with you about the video you made on me after it came out, after a while you just stopped responding. It happened once again during the Lexit situation when I tried asking if we could VC and calmly discuss. I've heard this is the thing you do, Luke. When you don't want to listen to people and want to stop a conversation, you just stop responding. You plug your ears and say la 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 until the mean people go away. Well, guess what? I'm not going away because this video is out there now. The thing I wanted to say to you, which I wouldn't to anyone else, is this, and I mean this in the most sincere, blunt way I can because I care about this community and where you're headed. leave the community. You've caused almost nothing but damage, and it's clear through your mindset that it'll just continue if you keep it up in your current state. I'm not saying leave forever, but go leave for a good time and reflect on everything that's happened. Maybe come back with a different perspective, or a different kind of content entirely, because right now, you're the definition of a dilettante. If you don't know what that means, look it up. Thanks for watching. I'll hopefully see you all in the next one that isn't about drama for a good while.